Hello and welcome to another episode of Raman Rewinds. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about Maninder Singh, who started off his career alongside me in the inaugural Under 15 tournament conducted by the BCCI way back in 79-80. We both came across each other when we were playing for our respective zones in the knockout phase of the Under 15 tournament in Mumbai. All the teams stayed at the Wankhede Stadium where they had the dormitories beneath the southern stands. So all the teams would congregate for a meal in the evening at a specified time because that's how the arrangements were made then. So it was always going to be a case of members of all the teams striking up conversation and then getting to know people from different parts of India. Maninder Singh was a friendly guy and he would always walk up to others and introduce himself and they would start a conversation. It came very naturally to him, friendly guy, and he liked to have fun and he liked to meet people as well. And it was not a surprise that he quickly struck a conversation with me. Ellis was there as well, and all of us got to know each other very quickly. Leading up to the final, obviously, um, we met on a few occasions because we had to stay in that dormitory for a good period of 10 days before we played the final. Incidentally, both the North and South Zone sides qualified for the final. So we did come across each other on quite a few occasions, and we can say that we became friends soon enough. The interesting thing was leading up to the final, Atul Mahindra walked over, the wicketkeeper batter for North Zone. And some of the boys from Delhi, how they are. He walked up, he was trying to play the mind games a day or two before the final, and he would try to impress upon us the fact that they had a left arm spinner called Maninder, and he had a great arm which will pitch and fizz really quicker off the pitch, and if it hit the stump would travel about 15-20 meters. So the first day, everybody said, okay, fine, Atul, let's think about it when we get to that. And day two, again, he repeated the same thing on day two. The South boys, after being polite on the first day, and they said, yeah, we heard you the first time, not in words, but in their reactions. And on the third day, when he said that the left arm spinner of South Zone quipped, it doesn't matter how much the stump travels because it's just going to be one wicket. And the distance of a stump traveling quite a lot matters only in a game of Gilli Danda. If you know what that game is all about, you'd understand what my statement was. Atul Mahindra got it. That's what was critical. He got it. And after that, he stopped his campaign about the virtues of Maninder armor. However, he had a point. Maninder had a good armor and he was definitely a bowler to watch out. Also, I'd like to remind you that the left arm spinner of South Zone was none other than yours truly. But Maninder and I became good friends starting from that particular campaign for our respective zones, and the friendship is stretched for over 4.5 decades. And our careers, interestingly enough, has seen a lot of twists and turns. And at the end of the day, and when we look back now, as we did when we came across each other after a long time, we enjoyed the game and we enjoyed our rivalry. We enjoyed the matchups when we came against each other for our respective states and zones. And we also enjoyed the good times that we had, reminisced about the good times we had when we were part of the Indian side together. So Maninder Singh, as an individual, was a friendly guy. He always looked to have fun. He always looked to create funny incidents, and that's how he spent most part of his life. And as a cricketer, he was absolutely brilliant as a left-arm spinner. He was supposed to be an ideal success for Bishan Bedi. In fact, people even went to the extent of saying he would perhaps end up with more wickets than Bishan Bedi because he was very promising, he was full of guile, and he was hard-working as well. His reputation and the promise was such that he was drafted into the Indian side in uh, the early 80s when he was in his teens. And he was perhaps the youngest player to play for India. Then before Lakshman Shivaramakrishnan broke that record, and obviously after that, one S.R. Tendulkar made it a point to break just about each and every record that was there as far as these things are concerned and batting records are concerned. Now, getting back to Maninder, Maninder was given a string of chances, but unfortunately, in terms of wickets, the promise did not relate to the numbers, and hence he was dropped after being given a few chances. And in fact, his career happened to be one of ups and downs. Let's also not forget the fact that he also had to contend with Ravi Shastri being in the side, because not only could Ravi bowl left arm spin, he could also bat well. And with him having an edge over Maninder Singh in terms of having made his debut earlier than Maninder and establishing himself, it was always going to be a catch-up game for Maninder Singh. However, he fought hard, he kept performing well, and he made his comebacks. And in fact, I remember my debut for India in the ODIs more for a spell that Maninder bowled than what I did in that game. It was on the 2nd of Jan 1988, and it was at Eden Gardens. We batted first against the mighty West Indies, and we got something around 190, and we had to defend it. And Calcutta is a place that you would receive a lot of support from the crowd. Yes, there's no two ways about that. But equally, there are no two ways about you facing their wrath if you don't win the game. So defending 190 against West Indies was quite a formidable task, and it was an uphill task as well. But on that particular afternoon, Maninder Singh was at his best. It was sheer magic. Even if you're fielding at deep mid-wicket, or if you're fielding at long off, if you're fielding at long on, you could see the ball really dipping, and then the batters getting deceived time and again. And I'm talking about batters of the caliber of Haynes, Greenidge, Richards. Now, these are no spring onions, especially when it came to international cricket and how batting was supposed to be done during that particular phase. And Maninder Singh was top class. I'm not a great one for numbers, but if I remember rightly, he picked up the wickets of Greenidge and Richards, and he must have only considered about 18 runs in a spell of 10 overs. Now, that is something, isn't it? When you're bowling against a batting lineup of Greenidge, Haynes, Richards, and then you're talking about Hooper, Richie Richardson, and that's not a bad spell at all. And I distinctly remember on one occasion, Gordon Greenidge just charged down the ground and he hit the ball almost in hanger. He was one of the fiercest hitters of a cricket ball. And for all the power that he tried to generate, the ball just looped over the boundary line and landed just outside the boundary rope at Eden Gardens. But for that, Maninder might have probably had figures of 2 for 12 of 10 overs. But that's one spell I can never ever forget. And Maninder, when he was confident, he was absolute magic. And it is a pity that his career did not really sort of go the way many expected. And after his cricketing career also, Maninder had to deal with a lot of issues. There were a lot of twists and turns in his life as well. And it's a tribute to him that he's now reconciled with a lot of things in life. And he's also made a lot of moves that is really worthy of admiring him for. And Maninder Singh obviously spoke very famously about his hitting the bottle hard in a tough phase of his life, and he never ever blamed anybody. His simple answer was, when questioned as to why he hit the bottle, he said, "I couldn't talk to anybody, so I found it easy to hit the bottle." And that's what Maninder is all about. And Maninder Singh, during his playing days, was extremely helpful to everybody. He would even help the strangers. There are many cases of him having helped people who he has not even met. And a kind-hearted Maninder Singh, vulnerable at the same time, highly emotional, but a fantastic team man, and he would fight for what he thought was right. I can relate one particular incident. We were scheduled to play a test match in Bangalore against New Zealand, and that was the test match where New Zealand had a lot of substitutes on the field because all of them fell sick. And leading up to that game, I had no nets at all, and a decision to play me in the 11 was made at the 11th hour, literally. And Maninder Singh made it very clear in the team meeting that I needed to have a net in the morning because I was not given a chance to have a hit the previous evening. And that was really something, because he felt that it was unfair of people to just let me loose into a test match. And he would always fight for what is right. And that might have perhaps not gone down well with a lot of people, but that did not really deter Maninder from speaking his mind. Maninder Singh is obviously now back into commentating and back into getting involved in cricket as a broadcaster. Of course, he did that some time ago after he retired from cricket. And then in the interim period between now and then, he had to contend with just being out of cricket for whatever his personal reasons were, which is unfortunate because Maninder Singh could have contributed a lot as a coach, especially the younger crop of spinners would have benefited immensely from his knowledge of the game and also his mentoring. I remember when I was the head of the NCA, I made a couple of calls to him to ask him if he would come and help the youngsters, and his response was that he would love to do it, but at the same time he felt that he was not in the right frame of mind to really venture into coaching, and that too handling cricketers of the next generation. But however, I'm sure that he's doing a lot of it now, and he's enjoying doing whatever he's doing. In fact, he was very passionate about cricket. He wanted to be involved in cricket as much as possible after he retired. He qualified as an umpire as well, and he gave up umpiring because the way things were done at that stage was something that Maninder was not really impressed about. And whenever he was not impressed about the processes of the administrators, he made it very clear and walked away from it. And that's exactly what he did when it came to umpiring. However, Maninder Singh is planning to write on a book, and I'm sure that the book will be interesting on many counts. One is that people will definitely get a lot of learnings from his experiences, both as a cricketer and as a human being, that to tackle a lot of challenges in his life. And Maninder Singh is one person who would never ever sort of pull his punches. If and when that book comes out, I'll perhaps be at the head of the queue to buy that. Maninder, I wish you the very best for that forthcoming book, and I'm sure that not only you, a lot of people who buy that book would also be very, very satisfied with themselves for making that decision. And in the meanwhile, keep going money as you've been, and hopefully we'll again catch up and do a few stints of commentating together. On that note, I'd like to wind up this episode, and until I catch up with you next time, be good and stay safe.